But I realized that I was just being used for a machine that unfortunately did not respect or honor a fucking ounce of me. And as I told someone the other day, I said, I would rather die standing than die on my knees. Because at least if I died standing, at least I stood for knowing what I was getting into. The reason I'm in a predicament is because I put myself there, not because of the thought of, oh, this guy can go fuck himself because police officer. Oh, he wasn't the problem. Let's send the message anyway. So that's why I put my 2 weeks notice in, and that's why I quit. I asked myself in that second chance, what would I change? And I would change my job, first and foremost. That place doesn't deserve me. Not to fucking mention, if you want to really go one further, I found out after I quit. Do you know Officer Riker at all, or Maeve?
Yeah.
Riker got fired, Maeve quit behind him. Long story short on that. Spoke with them because I wanted to know the details. And I was telling them because the encompassing conversation we had was about the marshals. I found out after I quit, Brittany Angel went in front of the room at a meeting at some point and said to everybody in that meeting room that if you don't volunteer to help the marshals, you will be told to help the marshals. Do you know the last time somebody walked into the meeting room and said that to us?
No.
It was the fuckhead that walked in and said we were going to a war and we were going to invade Sanguine.
Who was that?
Fucking, what the hell is his name? He was the commissioner or whatever. Oh my God.
Axel?
Axel Justice, yes. Axel walked in, said, today you guys are going to a war. Today you're going to fight for your country. And we all looked at this man who we didn't know and said, no, the fuck we're not. And I didn't go to the war. I didn't go to the war. I said that my job description. Thank you, BTB. My job description was to protect and serve this island. In my oath, I was supposed to defend any enemies. But as far as I know, my contract was stated that it was for this island, not for Sanguine. If something came over here that shouldn't have, that's when it was my problem. Not to go and knock on someone else's door. But I didn't go, and I was one of about 5 officers that didn't. With that said, it's amazing how malicious compliance works in the PD. As I found out after, and this is not like a made-up statistic, this is about as accurate as it comes. About 90% of the people who I spoke to, there were dozens that I spoke to after Sanguine. I led the meeting right after the war ended. 90% of the officers in that room don't even know why they went over there. They don't know. Not a fucking clue. And it was heartbreaking to see that a lot of these people who I thought were integral went because, ooh, war. Ooh, helicopter. Ooh, big gun. Ooh, tank. I don't know what they were fighting for. But I knew that I was one of probably about 5 people that actually did their job. Stayed on the island and minded my own fucking business. And it was a grand time. It was fucking great. But the effects are kind of permanent. And unfortunately, myself, the aftermath has affected me more than the actual war. And hearing that a state official like Brittany Angel went up in front of the room and started telling people that if you don't volunteer to help us out, the state department that has 5 tanks going to be voluntold, I would have thrown my badge in front of the room and said, I'm volunteering myself out. Fuck you. I'm really glad that I didn't get that far, but I do regret not leaving sooner knowing that now. As I said 8 months ago, that if anyone ever If any state entity ever flies too close to the sun with the police department again, I'm done. And I made that very clear to people that if there's ever a chance where you will not see me in this PD, it's if anybody tries to get too close again. That sentence alone from Angel, whether it's being misconstrued or not, even a joke about that is enough for me to say, yeah, no, I'm good. So. Also, by the way, in case you didn't know, Kona Clarkson, the guy that did commit treason, who went for a mobility scooter, by the way, yeah, he's a marshal now. Just got off the phone with him before.
Yeah, I heard. Between Pred being hired and Clarkson being hired, I don't know how this fucking organization is meant to run. I mean, it's just to just hire a bunch of jokes.
No.
Of
They're a State Department, Shane.
jokes.
Come on now. They're supposed to be trustworthy and reliable. You're supposed to trust your government, right?
Here's the thing, Flump. I mean,
I'm being
like,
sarcastic.
fuck them,
Fuck
but they no, I get you, but I'm saying, like, yeah, fuck them, but I mean, that PD still hired Conan before. They still hired all the fucking dickweeds that intentionally fucked with people as much as they could, try and push the limits constantly. I don't see much of a difference. It's just birds of a feather, and the marshals are just an extension of even more fucked up shit that they're just trying to push the limits on. That's all they ever do. The government, they push the boundaries, they push them, they push them, they push them, and that is why the club and people like I exist. I mean, you spoke about purpose for like, you spoke about purpose for a little bit. You think being in the PD was your purpose?
For a minute there, I did. And then I saw the bigger picture and realized it wasn't. I wouldn't even bullshit you about that. At one point, I realized, I said, man, this really is like, I love it here. But it's amazing how quick opinions change when you actually see everything else happening behind the scenes. It's ugly. It is an ugly fucking sight, Chang. I think you guys exist for the right reasons. I'll give you that. You're not out here doing cover-up jobs, and between what JT told me and between what a few other people have told me, if the one word about the club is freedom, then yeah, you guys express it exactly how you stand for it. I've never seen more cover-up jobs from a State Department quite like the PD.
Freedom. I mean, yeah, it's a good way of putting it. Doesn't matter how gilded the cage is; it's still a cage at the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
What the group stands for, you know, it changes like the weather. Never in a major or massive way, never foundationally, but the ideals of everyone within. I mean, it's a melting pot of so many people that it's hard to really summarize. Like, this is what we want. You know, it's much easier to say this is what we are. Chasing freedom. That's kind of it. Trying to fight corruption as much as we can. I mean, I knew someone like that who died trying to fight corruption. I mean, and he did it in every single way that he could. Every single method that was available to him, he took. Every single opportunity, he did it. And what it really comes down to at the end of the day is that you might not be successful at it. Let me tell you a story. When I was a child, my grandma used to tell me of this war that happened in China when Japan assaulted us. So mutual war. I mean, both sides did some fucked up shit, but she told me about how these soldiers would come into their village and assault them, and the Chinese government were pretty good about having some sort of early warning. Okay, we know where they're going to be arriving at. And this is my great grandmother who passed away during this. She As far as I'm aware, she was a really lovely person. And I remember once they said that the Japanese are coming, they're gonna destroy this village. I mean, they had some fucking major weapons, explosives, and whatever else, and all that jazz. And so they were evacuating the village. They told people to get the fuck out. So basically, fuck off or you're gonna die. Evacuate this fucking village. I'm telling you right now, Japanese are gonna kill you, and they're probably gonna do a lot worse than murder you. So leave now. And my great grandmother, she was about to leave, but then decided that instead of doing that, she had a different idea in mind. So the Chinese infantry, the defenders of the village, whatever they were called, they were checking the houses to make sure everyone was gone. I mean, women and children especially had to make a focus of them, and they found my grandmother in her bed, my great grandmother in her bed, and they said, "What the fuck are you doing? Wake up, leave, get out of here. You're gonna die here." They're an overwhelming military presence. There's nothing you can do against them. And she got out of her bed and she walked downstairs with these villagers. But she stood at the door of her house. And she explained to them that I've lived here for generations. My mother lived here, and her mother lived here, and her mother, and so on and so forth. And it dates back hundreds and hundreds of years, or whatever. And the soldier said, "I don't care. You're going to die here. Don't you care? You're not going to have a daughter who appreciates this house anymore. Or, you know, your mother's never going to come back to this place." And she said she's not moving. So the villagers said, "Well, what the fuck are you going to do? You're going to die. These people have technology that will blow your mind." And she said, "It doesn't matter." And she reached down and grabbed a rock off the ground. And she said, "Well, I'll just throw this at them." And everyone laughed and said she's crazy. She's lost her mind. Her marbles are splattered on the ground. They said, "What do you think that's going to do against a metal plate or a gun or anything of the sort?" And she said, "It doesn't matter. I'm going to throw it at them." And so they said again, "You're going to stay here and you're going to die by yourself because you choose to throw a rock at a tank." And she said, "Sure, I might die here, but they're going to know which side I'm on." And that's really what I like to think of ADMC as being, is that this is a fight and we do have a purpose, or perhaps some sort of level of, I know what I was born to do and I'm going to chase it forever. But it's a fight that everyone knows they're going to lose. I was talking to Rue about it yesterday. She said, "Oh, well, Shang, they got fucking tanks and they got APCs and they got sniper rifles and they have grenades and bombs and all that jazz." And I said, "Doesn't matter. We're going to fight them." And she said, "Well, what do you mean we're going to fight them?" I said, "If it comes down to it, there's another Sanguine or whatever, we'll fucking fight them." And again, she stressed, "You don't understand. They have tanks. They have drones. They have snipers. We have pistols." And I said, "Good. At least they're going to know which side we're on." And that's what the club stands for to me. It's not a fight we're aiming to win, but that's not what makes a warrior. A fighting spirit doesn't mean you're going to win. A fighting spirit means you're going to get up and fight. Even if you know shit's going to go bad, even in the face of overwhelming apocalyptic odds, you still get up and you go fucking do it. That's what the club stands for to me. Yeah, that's freedom. That's making sure that I don't give a fuck about how gilded the cage may be. I don't care what they've put inside. I don't care if they've given me every single worldly possession that a man could ever crave. How much wine or money or technology even that they put inside this cage. It's not for me. I don't ever want to be enclosed within bars. So that's what it is to me. I mean, at the end of the day, it is just freedom and trying to fight against corruption and trying to make sure that make sure that at least people have a fair chance. I mean, look, you've been given something greater than you could possibly imagine. Trust me, I knew someone who was similar to you, similar position, left the PD, and they were executed like a fucking dog. They didn't have a chance to think about it. I don't even think they knew why they died. If I can be honest, I don't even think they had time to think about it. I mean, I remember being at the hospital watching them, and the doctor came out and said they've been brain dead for almost 20 minutes. They don't remember anything. And I said, "What do you mean they've been brain dead? What are you doing then?" And she said, "I'm trying." And although, trust me, I wanted to shoot this fucking doctor in the head, and I'm pretty sure someone shot another one at some point, but it made me think again that shit, this lady's been trying, knowing that this person's been dead for 20 minutes already. And it reminded me again. Well, at least I know which side she's on. So that's what the club means to me.
I appreciate you sharing that, because that does hit very close to home. Um, I hope you know that someone that I remind you of did everything that he could to make sure the people around him knew not only his place in society, but that there were people that loved and cared about him, me included. Cheng, if we're talking about the same person, I had the pleasure of working with that man. When he left, I remember calling him one day, and I asked him a simple question. I said, "Are you happy?" And he told me that he was the happiest he had ever been. He was the most free that he had ever been. He was no longer tied. That stuck with me. And he was one of the few people that when I heard the news, I dropped everything to go pay respects. And truth be told, he may be one of the only people in my life that I wish I could have one more conversation with. I told something to JT yesterday that I truly do believe. I don't like when good people who pass on, I don't like when people say that they died. The word death, dying, passing away, says that there is a conclusion to that person. There's an end chapter to that person. I'd like to think that he is resting, because that man lives in a lot of people today, and a lot of people still stand for that man today. His legacy lives on. You should be proud to call him a friend. I don't want to use the word family. I don't know how people feel about that, but he is somebody that was close to a lot of people, and me included. I do look at him with a lot of integrity. He stuck by what he stood for. When he left, he knew what he was doing, and it was hard to hate a man who did something he believed in and then doubled down and stood on it so people knew where he was, what line he was really on. As that, regardless of what you believe is good or bad, is an honorable person.
You know, when I first came to the city, I did kind of, I kind of had this idea of good and bad and honor and dishonor and trying to be good and, you know, as much as one could, I suppose.
Sure.
But I think there are a few ties to the person that you want to be that keep you from becoming the person you don't want to be. There's a few of those anchors, I guess is probably a better way of putting it. And I had a few that I thought I'd maybe see again when I came back to the city after a couple of years. I didn't even want to come back to this godforsaken place. I'll be honest. My story is completely different to yours. I didn't get an email or some proposal or anything of the sort. I heard that someone that I cared about was back, and so I made my way over. But it turns out that it wasn't really her. It was some twin sister or something. And I think I remember having a conversation with TJ about what it means to be a good person, how I wanted to be one. And I remember how upset he got with me when I spoke to him about it. After seeing this person that I cared about dead, we had this long conversation in his house. He had a whole bunch of clocks and shit in his house. It's kind of fucking crazy. And he told me that you are in the wrong business. This is not for you. It was a very long conversation. He said everyone breaks eventually. Everyone cracks, everyone falls, everyone fails, everyone eventually faces defeat. Whether or not it's permanent, that is up to you. Very rarely do the people who strike you down have the choice to make it permanent or not. Ultimately, it comes down to you, whether you can get up or carry on. And I said, nothing will ever fucking keep me down. I promise you that. I told him that nothing will ever stop me from chasing what I want to chase. And he said, good. And the next time I spoke to him, we carried on the conversation, and he told me that you can choose to be that person, but you can either choose to be that person and chase your morals, or you can chase your purpose. You can chase your dream, or you can chase your morals. It's one or the other. Sometimes you can't help but be the bad guy. And he was open about it. He told me straight up, I'm the bad guy. This is who I am. I don't want to be that person. I don't try to be that person, but there needs to be that person in me. I tried my best to understand. I was 19 at the time when I came to the city. This was even more of a moron back then than I am now. But when I came back, it finally clicked when those anchors that I had, they're all but gone. And I realized the other day when I was talking to Rue, because she can fucking talk, dude. And
If you made it past Rue, good luck. Now you have to deal with me. I got bad news.
yeah, I don't mean Rue. Safe. But I did realize that this whole family dynamic, just I don't know, just how similar it seemed to be.
Hmm. It's hard knowing that mentors and anchors are no longer there when you need them. But the fact that you were around for those people long enough for them to become your mentors and anchors, at least you can ask yourself in a situation, based on the person that I know, what would they do? And I'm sure you could probably think of a logical answer in a lot of situations, questioning if what you're doing is the right thing or not. But if those people are the ones that keep you grounded, you probably knew them well enough to be able to turn around and know. You can ask yourself, what would they do in this situation? I mean, correct me if
All
I'm
I,
wrong. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
mm, all I just want to, I don't know, just don't let what happened to my anchors happen to yours. That's all. You know how important Ziggy is to you and how important you are to him. How much of a lifeline you guys are to Rue, especially, and Rue's one of my closest friends, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to lose her over something like this. That's why, for your sake, for my own, in a selfish way, I'm glad that you're not part of the fucking clown force anymore. Because here's something. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm never gonna repeat it. If you ask me about it in the future, I'm gonna deny I ever said it.
Okay.
But I don't know how club first people ever truly are when it comes to who they perceive as family. I really don't. And I know that if Ziggy were to be on the other side of a firefight and you were wearing your blue stripes, I don't know if he'd have been able to shoot, if I'm honest. And I don't know if he'd have been able to tell the truth about it afterwards. I trust them. I do. I think everyone in the club does. I can't imagine why they wouldn't. But I know that people are just human at the end of the day.
Part of the reason I left was a small portion, and I will explain, but a small portion of why I left was because I knew that that day could come, and I didn't want to put them in that situation. Not the main reason I left. I'd never claim that to be, and I'd never tell anyone that that was the reason I left, but I will explain to you what I've explained to others. Not many people, but either club or even Ziggy or Rue. The only way that there's a separation in our family is if you allow for there to be one. If I show up, let's say, to the block and I'm allowed down there, or I'm invited down there, and Ziggy and Rue are there, yeah, we may have our back and forth, we may have our ha-has, right? But Rue has a separation of something to go home to. If she ever needed to, just like Ziggy does as well. And I would expect them and understand that in the moment, they can't be selfish and they have to look at everybody else as a bigger picture in that club. And I would expect that if they were to call me and say, I'm about to go shoot people up, the only thing I have ever asked from either of them, ever, put simply, was just text me that you are okay. That's all. Let me know that you're okay. Be safe. Because even I know it was the same thing for me as an officer. There could be somebody on the force who I truly fucking hated. But if they were shot, nothing else mattered in that moment, right? I dropped everything to go and defend them. I went to go make sure that they were okay. And truth be told, I'd be more concerned if they didn't drop everything to make sure that one of their own was okay. If you were hurt, I would hope that they would drop everything to go make sure that they did whatever they could to make sure they got you back safe. It's not about the right or wrong side. It's about doing the right thing for the people that you care about. So I don't know what they would have done. And honestly, I'm still in a predicament where I wonder if I'm ever in a day where I have to look at my fathers in the same light. I'll be honest, Shang, I don't know what I would do. That's a hard one to sort of look into, but not that I ever really plan on it right now. I'm only, what, a week and, 2 days past my retirement, quote unquote, my quitting. But right now, my goals are to learn how to be a civilian, how to learn how to know people, talk to people, get to know everybody. And I'm not talking club, I'm talking in general, just going out and about, doing things. Mosley's, Milton's, sanitation, understanding what people get up to, the occasional street race. I was probably better at knowing street smarts, better than probably most people in the PD that have left or even go off duty, because I was one of the few that actually saw people as people. For example, I see you as Shang. I don't look at you as ADMC Shang. Because the problem is that as soon as you generalize it, if I look at you as, an ADMC member, you would have looked at me as, cop. Because the reality is, if you don't put personality on someone that you're talking to and you just generalize them as like everyone else, I don't expect you to treat me as Flop Dugong. I expect you to treat me as a cop. When I got out, I had a lot of good karma with people coming and talking with me, which was fucking great. I mean, honestly, it was nice to know that all my dedication of just being a good person paid off. No one said anything bad to say about me leaving, other than that, quote unquote, they lost a good one. I think they did. Not to be selfish, but it doesn't mean that I know the streets. It doesn't mean that I'm informed. It doesn't mean that I know everything. I may know it a little bit better than the last person, but I'm not out here trying to jump one ship to another. I retired. I retired with the intention of loving my life and enjoying it and meeting new people and having new experiences. And I don't see a future anywhere. Right now, my future is just to enjoy myself. My future is to make friends. And if opportunities arise in the future, then guess what? Opportunities arise in the future. But I got to crawl before I walk. Because right now, I don't know enough about the streets. I didn't even know how to do sanitation. I don't know where to buy a repair kit. So these are things that I'm learning. These are things that I'm enjoying. And I'm having experiences 8 months later that most people maybe understood within the first week. And I'm enjoying that. And I want to keep enjoying that for now.
Suppose so. Whatever you do, just don't waste fucking time doing nothing. Don't take it as a chance to not elevate yourself in some way. I mean, be better than you were when you were a cop.
Oh, absolutely.
I know you won't. I guess it's more just me saying it to myself almost. Not that when I was a cop, but who I used to be kind of thing. I just, if you want to go and do shit, then do it. I mean, you have the fucking prime opportunity. I'm actually really jealous. I think it'll be awesome. And if you ever want to go do some fucking crime, let me know.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure I will cross that bridge when I get there. Truth be told, I think Ziggy has been kind of, I don't know this for a fact. I'm sort of just speculating this based on what I understand. I think Ziggy's been holding out, a little excited, waiting for me to kind of be around to do crime. But as you put it, kind of lack of a better term, the world is at my fingertips. And I know it's easy to jump into just about everything. But I'm taking it one day at a time. I want to ease myself into things. Because honestly, once I get that first felony, I mean, it's all the, you know, the ball rolls downhill. And it don't stop. That's just momentum. So I'm taking it day by day. I'm not out the door grabbing a knife and taking a hostage for a cash exchange. You know what I mean? I'm not grabbing my gun and going fucking ballistic. I'm doing small shit right now. Night races, shit like that. I'm enjoying that. That's kind of my bread and butter right now. I like driving. I like driving quick. I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie with that stuff, but I didn't one foot out the door, next foot in shooting cops, because that's not, number one, that's not a natural progression, but two, as I've told other people, I'm still meeting people. I'm still telling my story and I'm still learning people's stories, and I don't think it makes sense that I should jump right into a life that's so beyond what I did for the last 4 years. It just wouldn't be natural. It wouldn't make sense. I want to elevate opportunities as they come my way, but I want to do it at a pace that isn't instant gratification, because then it takes away from the purpose of me retiring and using a second chance at life. If I start on the 8th rung and I only have up to the 10th rung on a ladder, and the 8th rung is shooting cops, then where do you go up from there?
You know, it's funny. I used to think the same. When I first joined BBMC, the club that eventually became ADMC, I had a call from prison, and it's from an unknown number. Someone inside of the prison called me because I used to be a taxi driver for a little bit, and they asked for a ride. I said, "Sure, come and give you a ride." They're very like a boisterous voice that they had through the phone, so I knew, okay, well, it's probably gonna be fun. Someone probably getting out of prison a little bit, and they calling me to come fetch him. And I thought, great. And I got to prison, and there was this guy on the other side of the bars and on the other side of visitation who asked me if I was Shang, and I said, well, what the fuck's going on? Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. What's happening? And he told me, well, let's get out of here. Come on. And I said, okay, great. All right, let's go. But he was still on the other side of visitation. He said, well, let's fucking go, Shang. And I said, okay. I didn't realize that this guy was still going to be in prison for another like 20 years or something. And
What the fuck was it?
Barry fucking Benson.
Huh.
And I kept chatting to him. I got to know him a little bit. And I think within a day or two, I'd become his hangaround. And I'd learned a whole lot about in that time. The only other person I'd met before him that knew anything about BBMC was TJ. And I'd promised TJ that I would deliver him a pizza in prison. I had no clue that TJ and Barry Benson were in the same group until I heard that. I didn't even know that Barry was the leader. And so I got to know Barry pretty well, but I got to know TJ very well. A lot of his ideologies and all that jazz. And I told him I'd never shot a gun before. I didn't know where anything was in the city. I didn't even know how to drive.
If you got to answer that, go for it.
Club could be on fire. Yo. I am chatting with Flop by the place where Billy Mang was executed. Yeah.
You can tell him I'm next.
Oh man, I can't be awake for much longer. Fuck.
These ADMC
She's gonna wake
comms.
up now.
Not the
Well,
Vinewood
why
sign.
didn't you just send it
No.
and just?
No.
I will pretend that
I'm
I
by
don't
the spot
know
we
that
executed Billy Mang. Remember that spot? Yeah.
If you want to, I give you permission. Otherwise, I will be around tomorrow. I will be around earlier tomorrow. Okay, but make sure that it's a thing. Okay, have a few people there and all that jazz. Okay, all right. Okay, bye. Shirking my responsibilities to tell the story.
My man.
Anyways, where was I?
You were talking about how you were going. You didn't know that Barry and TJ were affiliated with each other, and that you promised that you would bring TJ a pizza in prison.
Oh, right. So, anyways, I was talking to TJ and I told him, like, I don't know how to fucking shoot a gun. I don't know how to drive a car. I mean, I barely knew how to drive a car. I certainly didn't know any roads or landmarks or anything of import. And he said, well, I mean, get fucking used to it. You gotta learn very quick. If you're gonna be Barry's hang around, you gotta be able to do everything that he can do. And you gotta try and be better than him. Which I am better. Much better. At everything. But I think at the time, I didn't quite understand the gravity of the situation or what the club was about. I didn't understand anything. I had spoken to Finn at the time maybe 2 or 3 times, who was also locked up. And the only other people who told me stuff, were, ironically enough, was Rue and Kelly. And Rue hated me at first, I think. And Kelly was a great help, but again, all these fucking people were in jail, so pretty much it was difficult. But we had heard that there was a raid coming. And again, I'd never shot a gun before. And they put a gun in my fucking hand and told me to defend the Billy with my life against this raid. And I did. I shot down a couple too. At this time. But I just remember thinking, like, holy fuck, what an escalation. I was thinking it's going to take months. This will take me months, maybe years to get to the point where I feel comfortable. But there I was within a week or two.
So interesting how a lot of you have very similar stories too. I'm not trying to like generalize, but it's intriguing because I know Rue told me how she kind of got her foot in the door with stuff, and Finn told me how quick he was thrown into the mix too. I have a question for you. If you could go back and do it again, would you do it differently?
No. In fact, the only thing I'd do different is that I would go and fucking do it sooner. I like how in a heartbeat things could have changed. I mean, genuinely, there were many groups that had wanted me to join in some regard, I guess, at the point, and I had no intention of joining BBMC until I met TJ and Barry. The only other people I'd met before then, I'd met their members, but I would not change in a heartbeat. Same thing with ADMC. It's my home. And I think I genuinely, I don't know anyone in the club who wouldn't give everything to defend it. That is power that money cannot buy. There's a level of worldly experience that you cannot earn.
You mentioned earlier how you lost a lot of the people that kept you grounded, your foundations. I think because you share such a similar, in your own personal way, sentiment as a lot of people do in the ADMC, I would argue that the ADMC is your rock. I would say it is your foundation. And I think that it holds very close to you, as it does with a lot of people in the club. And you would do whatever you could to defend your foundation. Not a lot of people have that. Amazing to think that I thought I had it. And I didn't. And I'm not upset that I didn't. I'm just glad that I realized it before it got too bad. The realization part that a lot of people fuck up, but you realize how integral your life is to that club. And you realize how your past has affected your relation to that club. That is the most integral thing anybody could have in this world. Everybody needs to find their rock. And even though I think you lost a lot of those rocks, I think the biggest one out of them all still stands. So thank you so much
We
for
have
the
a
1 year,
place
brother.
where
Thank you.
we grow weed.
Thank you.
It's an
What's up,
underground
brother?
area.
Hey, dude.
It has these purple lights, like UV rays, whatever, science shit. And it helps the plants grow because it replaces the sun. Well, it replaces the sun's lasers with its own or whatever. And, I remember my actual home, I lived in something very similar to that. It was a bunker of sorts where plants were grown, and I remember I had a chain around my neck. And there was a little window for light and a little bit of air that shone in, and I remember there was a biker gang. Obviously, we're a motor club. This was a motorcycle club, but they would drive past sometimes. And I used to see
Thank you, Zombie.
their wheels, and I used to see some of
Thank
their
you, guys.
boots, these like the jackets. And I remember thinking, man, what a life that would be. And these people, they would often talk to each other and how much they cared about each other and what they would do for each other, and all manners of different types of respect from a group of people that are a bunch of cutthroats, a bunch of criminals, a bunch of people who robbed banks and shot people in the face and slit their throats and I remember thinking how jealous I was that even though I personally I hate shooting people, it's one of the worst feelings for me in this world. I can't stand it. And I remember thinking how out of place I would be if I were to ever be in such an environment, I suppose. But I look back at that and I think there is no other place that is home to me anymore than that exact environment. And so I look at this weed place where we grow weed, uh, and even though every single time I fucking hate myself trying to go down a ladder into this just to make sure that the club is going to make some money, and how it feels like your heart is trying to rip itself out of your chest, I would choose to do it a million times over than to have ever faced a reality where this wasn't the case. And so everyone has some of those. I mean, even in the PD, you probably felt some sort of camaraderie at some point where you felt like it was your family or perhaps like a home, or how happy you were at some point. But even when things have gone horrifically wrong or beyond fucked up, you can still look at that traumatic area, time of your life. You saw things how they were, maybe, perhaps not, and still think how fucked up it was that you came from there, but you still appreciate the good times of it. I miss seeing that motorcycle club through that little hole that was barely big enough to put an arm through. When I was a younger man, barely fit my hand through it. I still miss it. But again, there's no other reality that I wouldn't drop in a heartbeat to do this all again, and I wouldn't even think about it.
I think that's what matters. I think a lot of people regret the things that they did. I think a lot of people regret doing things too soon, too late. I wasn't really testing you, but I was going to remind you that the things you did, the actions you took, made you who you are today. And I tell people a lot. I've told many people. I don't think there's a single conversation I've had in the last week I haven't said this to somebody. You have to know what's bad to appreciate what is good. Because if you don't have bad experiences, you don't have things that are negative in your life, you will never appreciate what's good about it. I look at the PD as a very positive note in my life with a very negative outcome. And that's okay. I think the PD, yeah, there's people I still like there. There's only a couple. I mean, there's not a I can count them on one hand, but um I think knowing that I had good moments there and it ending poorly has made me appreciate this side of life that much more. I'm no hardened criminal. I'm no, stone cold killer. I think most people know that. I've done some fucked up shit, but I've never looked at the PD as a waste of time. I don't think if it was for my time in the PD doing what I believed was right, I don't think so many people would have been so open armed about me when I walked out. I don't think I told you, there's not a single person who has said that me leaving was negative. Only that they lost a good one. And I wouldn't go back and change anything that I did. Because it made me who I am right now. And if I were to go back and regret it, that would be equivalent to me saying I regret who I am right now. And I'm not. I don't regret a single piece of it. So,
I'll tell you the one piece of advice that I was given uh, is do all the things that you want to do. You might not necessarily agree with them. Morally, you might be put into a compromised position where you do have to sacrifice a little bit of yourself, your morals, your goals, your dreams. But don't lose yourself in the pursuit of them. I don't think you will. But I know many you have. And I know someone who really tried not to.
I appreciate that. I will keep that in mind.
Alright.
It's really good advice.
Yeah, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, let's do it. I appreciate you making time to talk, though. Seriously, it means more than you know.
You're welcome. Just make sure you take care of Root.
Oh, I will. I've told her more times than I can count that I will always promise her that she will, if she ever needed anything, she has someone to reach out to. So.
I'm not good at telling her those things myself, but...
Are you afraid to?
Afraid to?
Yeah. Are you just not good with your words, or are you hesitant to say that to her?
Shit, I don't know. I'm not scared of anything.
Right. Let me say this much at least, all right? You don't have to take this and do anything with it, but I will say this. If you ever did tell Rue that you were always there for her, if she ever needed, I think she would really appreciate it. We're so quick to, and this is something in the PD we always dealt with, and I used to tell people all the time, we're so quick to say what's negative about a person because it's easy to point out what they do wrong. We never like to admit when someone does right. Comes back to the whole police and the police thing. So busy worrying about ourselves, we don't worry about others. I think if you told Rue, I guess, how much you appreciate your friendship with her, and that you're always there for her if she needed anything, I think she would appreciate it. And you don't have to tell her that that came from me. That's something that's up to you if you want to do. What do you got planned for the rest of the night?
I'm gonna go see someone. I haven't seen her in a while.
Okay.
I'll see you around, Flop.
Yeah, sounds
Thanks for
good.
the talk.
Absolutely, Shang. I'll talk to you soon, all right? Be safe, be good. If you need anything, give me a call. He's going to see TJ. Damn. How we feeling after that conversation? Fucking hell, man. I didn't know Shang had such a crazy backstory. What a cool, what a cool story about Shang's past. That was like really cool. He said, let me tell you a story. And at first I'm like, oh boy, here comes the character lore. But then he explained it, and I was like, wow, okay. How do I say this? It's so in character for Flop to feel this way about people. Because, oh fuck, wait, when? No! Oh, we're not gonna make it. There's a minute left. Oh, it's fucking over. Never mind. We'll be ready for the next one. Little interested in why Shang doesn't say that to Rue. Yeah, no, I do think it's a little interesting, but Flop is also very integral in how he feels. I mean, you know, Flop said, I don't ever want this to, you know, be because of me. Right? All Flop said was, I want you to be the one to say this if you choose to. I want you to be comfortable saying it if you really mean it.